Okay, thank you for joining in the channel. And I guess somebody said the start time was wrong. I kind of rushed that and made a mistake. I think I said 9 p.m. Yeah, it's eight o'clock. So we are starting right now. So another thing is I want to change the format. Hello guys. So entire Iron Fist, Mad Cow, Jason, AMG, Chewy, Eagle Swords. Okay. What do you mean you can barely hear me? I'm maxed out here. You may have to turn up your volume. I don't want to have it in the red zone. So anyway, uh, last Friday, I changed the format. Hello, Doomed. I changed the format last Friday. What I did was I shortened it to 1 hour because usually these broadcasts last up to 3 hours. And I think 1 hour was too short. There was a lot of questions that didn't get answered. So we're going to extend that. We are going to extend that and we are going to try this now. This is the next phase 2 of the experiment. We're going to try it for an hour and a half. So we'll end the live stream at 9:30 p.m. Pacific. Okay, so an hour and a half. So that's the plan for today. Unless we get interrupted by internet issues here. So hopefully the sound is a little better here. Hello, Loris, Destor, Doomed, Galvano. You need to answer the question I asked. The things you plugged in to do the notification didn't work for me. So it was like one digit too long, and then it stopped. So anyway, hello, huge D bite. So let me start with the explanation of the subject matter, which is RF surveillance. And like I did last week, I'm going to go to a short, hopefully just 15 minutes, explaining the issue, and then we're going to go into the Q&A. So I'm not going to be responding to your comments immediately here until I finish this, so that way I can compress the time so that people don't complain about this being too long. So, because we're used to doing it like Periscope, where we do it for a very long period. The other thing I want to say before I start here is I am really thankful to my Patreon supporters. The number of people who are supporting me on Patreon is growing, and that is so appreciated. The other thing that's kind of surprising to me is that the number of people who watch me on Library now has over 5,000 subscribers on Library. That's incredible. That's a third of what's on YouTube. And I only started Library like 2 months ago. So in 2 months, I've reached 5,000 subscriber followers on Library. That's fantastic. The only problem is that if I keep this live stream too long, it doesn't go to Library. So that's why it's one of the reasons to keep it shorter. So anyway, thank you again. Thank you for your support on buying products and doing the Patreon, and also subscribing to YouTube and to um, Library. So YouTube is now growing very, very fast as well. So by next month we'll probably be at 20k followers. So it's growing very, very fast. And thank you for that. And it encourages me to do more of these kinds of videos. Now let me get into the topic immediately here. And the topic is about RF surveillance. And believe it or not, that has a lot to do with contact tracing. So I'm very careful with putting contact tracing in video titles. This is a partial thing today, and I'm going to do another video next week on contact tracing, and we'll see how YouTube reacts to that, because it's one of these topics that they will kind of ban. So I've got to be careful when I do it. It's got to be like a throwaway video where I'm not afraid of them throwing it away. So the issue is a new way of surveilling us, and it's not the same way that we've been surveilled over the internet. The new surveillance mechanism is going to be radio frequency based. So right now, when you're being surveilled, they look into the internet and see what you're doing on there, and they track you from that. And as you guys know, the Senate passed a variation on the Patriot Act surveillance, which they approved again every year. They keep approving it every year because they're all zucked up in the Senate. And, one of the things that they authorize is looking at your browser histories without a warrant, without, the protection of the Fourth Amendment. So no warrant. So somebody says, oh, well, that's not really different from before. That really has to do with just something, with FISA related things. So if you're not affected by FISA, foreign surveillance, it doesn't affect you. Of course, it's very easy to activate FISA. All you have to do is say somebody from a different country is talking to you, which obviously here on YouTube is pretty easy. Everyone here is from different countries. So if you chat with somebody here from a different country, which obviously you will, then that's justification to go check your stuff under the FISA law. So that's kind of the weird stuff. Anyway, what does RF surveillance have to do with any of this? The issue, guys, is that instead of just tracking you from the internet and your browsing history and what you do on the internet, they have found a new way of tracking you, and now it's going to be done in the name of saving lives. Saving lives, folks, that's what this is about, RF surveillance. Okay? Saving lives. It's a new way. Okay, the old way of doing RF surveillance was using RFID. RFID was the old way of doing RF surveillance. Our RFID will no longer be the big thing. The big thing now is your zucking phone. Your zucking phone will be your RF surveillance. So this is a very serious thing now. These phones, this is a Pixel. This is a de-Googled Pixel. This cannot be surveilled. This cannot be surveilled. This doesn't have the stuff that they need to do RF surveillance. So that's an example of how you would have a defense against this. RF surveillance is possible because these devices emit a signal. It's called a probe that announces who you are. So every time any of you have a phone, all of these phones are emitting your MAC address for the Wi-Fi and the MAC address for the Bluetooth. And somebody said, well, this contact tracing stuff doesn't affect my privacy because they're not using an IP address and they don't know my name and all that. False. False. Let me just tell you what's happening now, guys. So the new way of doing this is a new thing now. Again, this didn't exist a year ago. Did not exist a year ago. So what they're going to do now is they're going to leave Bluetooth on. So if you have the new iOS, I just did an update. They just did an iOS update. I haven't taken that update, and I'd want to delay getting that update as long as I can because contact tracing is on that. And what that means, guys, likely somebody from Apple shows up here and tells me I'm wrong, then they can correct me. But my guess is what they're going to do is have the Bluetooth probe on. In old versions of iOS and Android, Bluetooth probe is off. Bluetooth does not send out a probe saying, I'm here with this MAC address. That was off. In order to do that, you have to do a pairing, and only when there's a pairing does it announce the MAC address. So I bet you that's what they're going to change. They're going to enable Bluetooth to send out a ping every so often, and now when two phones detect each other's ping, so now you're gonna be able to do that. Okay, you're gonna detect devices that are pinging Bluetooth. Then you have a record of anyone's Bluetooth that is next to your device, and people are gonna write code. People are gonna write programs to access that probe, either that or using a third-party device with a receiver, using an RF receiver. I have many here. Okay, any ham radio guy can do that, and then can receive the signal and then find out what the MAC address is that's encoded in that signal. You have 13.4.1. Isn't it 13.5? Somebody can verify. I don't use my iPhone anymore, so I don't even keep track of the versions. 13.5. So they just released that. So if you get 13.5, chances are then it will affect how Wi-Fi probes and Bluetooth probes work, and it will be pinging everyone constantly, and it's gonna be a problem. So why is it an issue? What is in a pinged? So your device is announcing your MAC address. So this one is announcing it. Somebody from across the country isn't going to know your MAC address. So somebody from Apple is going to say, or Google, they're going to say, that's not dangerous. So what if somebody can ping my MAC address? You have to be close by to ping a MAC address. So what? Well, it is a so what question if the person doing the tracking is, is your neighbor or somebody close by. Then it's not a big deal because they already know who you are anyway. They don't need to look at the phone. They already know you by looking at your face. The problem is that these devices are also being tracked for other things, with Apple and Google tracking what is called a device fingerprint. So now they have the data for device fingerprint and where and when you had contact with any other people that had Bluetooth on. So now they have a new data point to add to the device fingerprint. Somebody says, oh, you're not really, this is not stuff that is attached to an identity. Wrong. Your device fingerprint is your identity. They know exactly who you are. You got your Apple ID, your Google ID. They know who the zuck you are. And they have your location 24/7. They can match your exact location, who you were in contact with contact tracing from Bluetooth. They know everything. Now they just added a new zucking data point. The new zucking data point is that you were close by within range of Bluetooth, which is usually 10 feet or under. You've just been spotted with that, and now everywhere you go, there'll be a new database point to add to say, yep, this person has been confirmed to be next to such and such people. What VPN is going to affect that? What is a VPN going to do? This is a new data point. It's like saying, what is a VPN going to do with device fingerprinting? Nothing. Those are two different sides. A VPN is only for the IP address. That is for internet traffic. This is not internet. We're talking about RF surveillance, RF radio frequency. This is not over the internet. This is zucking radio. Radio. Not internet. Radio. So you're being tracked on the internet. Now you're going to be tracked on radio. Now you have to be close by though. This is a proximity check. So now dual mode. We're going to track you on the internet. We're going to track you by radio. Suck. And your response is, oh, well, it's going to save lives. Yeah. Next year. Mark my words. Will they turn this off next year? When there's a vaccine, will they turn this off? I guarantee you guys, it's guaranteed they will not turn this off. No zucking way. No, they will not. Mark my words. Mark my words. Tell me next year if I'm wrong. Usually I'm not wrong. I can predict, behaviors of these zucking institutions. It's just like the Patriot Act. Oh, 9/11. Oh, we got to, we were just hit by Osama bin Laden. There's a bunch of terrorists now. So we got to do this Patriot Act. And here we are. We are zucking 2020. This happened in 2001. Okay, 19 years later, and we're still zucking doing Patriot Act. Oh, we gotta, worry about all these zucking terrorists. Well, that will be forever now, guys. Forever. So now that's a new forever for you. Radio zucking surveillance. Now, fortunately, guys, there is a solution. I'm going to close it out by saying there is a solution. First of all, the code for doing radio surveillance and contact tracing is not available on AOSP, the Google phone. It's not there. No radio surveillance here. That code is not there because Google does not want to share that code with everyone. So they're going to keep it private as part of GAPS. So it's not going to be here. These phones do not have contact tracing. They do not have RF surveillance. And the same with a Linux phone. So if you're running a Linux phone, Nexus 5 with Ubuntu Touch, Pine phone with Ubuntu Touch, Pine phone with Debian Fosh, whatever you're using that's a Linux phone or a Google phone does not have RF surveillance. I am so fucking happy that these are the phones I use. This, by the way, is a one that I just added to my store. It's a Pixel. It's a Pixel. So it's a newer than the Nexus 5. And, obviously the flagship back in the day. And this is a very, very stable version here of AOSP because sometimes it depends on the model. Like they don't have a good version of AOSP for Pixel 2, Pixel 3, Pixel 3a. It's not very good for those, but the Pixel is very good. So this runs exactly like the G7. It has good photo quality, and for an older phone, it's actually very, very nice, and it's cheaper than the Google Play G7 Play. So I've been adding this, and this is the one that I highly recommend if you want simplicity, because it's a very reliable phone with OTA update, and this one does not have contact tracing, no RF surveillance. Zuck that. Zuck that. Any good books that you recommend? How about Bruce Schneier books by Brooks Schneier? I got a Pixel 2 XL. Yeah, 2 XL an issue. So I have, and by the way, I have a Pixel 3 and I tried graphene on it. Didn't load. Didn't load. So anyway, I'm going to look at your comments now that I got you started here. And if I missed your question, just go ask it again. Stuck with S9 that can't seem to root. You do not need to root to install an AOSP. What the fuck are you doing? I don't root these phones. There's no need to root the phones. Hello, Mark. Is that the same Mark? From Periscope, Mark? What if you have a VPN? That is independent, by the way. VPN has nothing to do with RF, because VPN is for the internet. RF surveillance requires that you actually stop these phones from emitting the RF signature. Okay? So it's a combination of things. If they know your internet, through the internet, they get your device fingerprint, and then they know what the RF surveillance is, which is not tied to the internet. You don't need internet to do RF surveillance. It will store the data on your device and then upload it later when you get internet. I don't use Face Unlock. Yeah, good. No, they won't. Then I toss my iPhone. You should toss your iPhone. Somebody was actually saying to me on YouTube, "Oh, what? You're saying Apple is a spy phone? I'm out of here. I'm out of your channel." And I say, bye-bye. Go zuck, go away. If you think an iPhone is zucking safe, go away. You don't belong here. I mean, many of us love our iPhones, and I have an iPhone, but it's a spy device. Whether I like it or not, it is. So I have iPhones. It's at home. I don't take it out. I have an iPad. I'm using an iPad here. It doesn't leave the house. It can do all the contact tracing it wants. It doesn't go anywhere. So we need the user-friendly Pine phone to be ready soon. Yes. BlackBerry OS and not TCL Android BlackBerry devices. I got a BlackBerry Passport. The problem with a BlackBerry Passport is running Android. It's an old Android like 4.4. So exactly what's in that Android, I don't know. So, can you consider like an AOS feed de-Googled? I don't know. Because we don't know what BlackBerry did. So I'd rather not have a BlackBerry Passport, but I had and loved my BlackBerry 9900, which is before that. But it doesn't work too well on the internet. What do you think of Deep in OS? I don't know what that is. Praveen Kumar, hello. I'm more concerned about the privacy concerns of 5G than the health concerns. Yes, but we're not. I didn't know that was a. Have you tried to de-Google a Fairphone? I don't have access to a Fairphone, so I can't tell you. A Fairphone is an EU phone, so I don't have any experience with that. Can we choose any cell company when transitioning to a de-Google phone? You just joined the chat. The G7 Play, G7, and the G7 are GSM carrier phones. They don't really handle Verizon too well. But I believe, surprise, surprise, I think the Pixel works with Verizon. So some of you have been asking me about Verizon phones. I think we found the answer, and that's a Pixel. You can ask Verizon yourself, but I think they support a Pixel. This was a Google flagship. So why wouldn't they support a Pixel? So it was on the Verizon site. So a Google Pixel will likely run with Verizon. So otherwise, I would stick to GSM, meaning AT&T, T-Mobile, and their resellers. So, but this was my solution that I came up with, was to use a Pixel. This one should be supported by Verizon. This is only a US problem. Everyone else in the world is okay with GSM carriers. What about, I don't know about Redmi. It's not one that I support. What about phones, Redmi phones in India? The best phone in India is actually the G7. Why? Because it's made in India. The G7 is made in India, so it should work there. It's just a guess, but if I'm going to venture a guess, I'm going to venture a guess that the G7 works in India. I bet you that only parts of it are made in India. Most of it is made in China. So is fingerprint unlock unsafe? There's a problem. This depends on the country. They'll force you to unlock with a fingerprint. So best not to use the fingerprint. I don't use fingerprint. EC Ammo, Fuzzy Bunt, Locudos, Praveen Kumar, RBR, Owen Avenue. My BlackBerry 9900 does all I need. The problem with a BlackBerry Bold 9900, it's such a great phone that I had, and it looks cool, and it's all nice and shiny, and it worked with great Bluetooth, and I had great music on it on my car. The problem with a BlackBerry Bold is the internet, the browser. They haven't updated the certificates, so many browsers don't work because it doesn't have new root certificates on there. So because of that, it's very hard to go use it for normal internet. Half the websites won't work. Let's see, what else? Which Pixel phone do you suggest? I actually recommend the Pixel 1 for now. The other Pixels have some features that are just not, 100%. That's why they're not supported by Lineage OS, because they probably do not work 100%. There's some features in it that the Lineage OS doesn't work with. So the most stable one is the Pixel, and it has very long-term support. So kind of like a Nexus 5. This is the equivalent to a Nexus 5 in a future round because there's so much support for it. So this one is very well supported. It still has long-term support even for an older Pixel, and it still runs pretty well. To be honest with you, it still runs very fast compared to some other phones. I'm in Canada too. Is this a 1 hour live stream? This is an hour and a half live stream. An hour and a half. So yeah, so I'm recommending, for most people, I'm going to recommend the Pixel and then the G7. The G7 is a larger phone. And then later on, when I get to be successful with it, hopefully a Pixel 3. But a Pixel 3 is very expensive. A Pixel 3 is going to be, more along the lines of $359 or something. It's going to be the most expensive phone I'll offer. So I can't even do the one I have. I failed, so I got to keep doing it again. So that may be the high end. It's a Pixel 3. So Pixel 2, they're not reliable for AOSP. So Pixel 3A has a potential, but these are kind of expensive. So Pixel 3A is actually a lower grade, even though it's newer. It's actually lower grade than a Pixel 3, which is older. King X Club. So hello Fuzzy Buns. So again, so for comparison, I think I'm gonna be recommending these now, and I've been finding these. They're still pricey for an old phone, but it's very hard to find a Nexus 5 now. I think I bought them all. I bought so many Nexus 5s, and I bought them and they're all in bad condition because they're so old. So the Nexus 5s, I still have a bunch of Nexus 5s, but it's this is a Pixel. This is the Google Pixel, and it runs very, very well. Just kind of like the same thing I do with a G7. So I managed to do it on the Pixel. The procedure is almost identical. So this is a very good phone to get. So I'm going to be pushing mostly the Pixel and the G7. Then, I'll tell you the advantage. Unfortunately, these are both Android 9. The reason I pushed the Google G7, not the Google, the Motorola G7 Play, is that the Play is Android 10. The problem is there's a couple of bugs on it that could irritate some people. One of the bugs is if your ringer is off, then the voice doesn't work. So often you have to, dial again and say, "Oh, I got the ringer off," and then you have to dial again to get the person, and it's kind of irritating sometimes. So, which is what I use. I use a G7 Play, but I'm not going to have the same problem on this, and this is even cheaper than the G7 Play because this is only $249. The G7 Play is $269. So almost no reason to, not. And the camera's better on the Pixel. So actually no reason not to go with this. So this is good. Now the Play is good too. I mean, it's new phone. The Play is a new phone, so it probably has a faster CPU, but I don't think that's going to be noticeable. Does it matter if it's Pixel or Pixel XL? I only have Pixels because if you want a big one like the G7 size, then you might as well go with a G7. But if you want to have me de-Google a Pixel XL, I can do that. Pixel XL, I can de-Google. So, but I already have Pixel, so you don't have to send them to me. I don't. I can do Pixel. So it's kind of an experiment. I can't do every phone because when you actually try them, you notice that they're not consistent. So an example is now pixels are not all consistent either, but I figured it out. A Pixel 3 I have no success with so far. I am not successful with Pixel 3. I will eventually, but it's going to take a while to figure it out. I want a Google tablet. You can. It's a Samsung Galaxy Tab S2. If you want one, send it to me and I'll Google it for you. A Samsung Galaxy Tab S2. Okay, Samsung Galaxy Tab S2. I can Google that tablet. What do you think about the OnePlus? I have a OnePlus One. I have successfully, which is running Lineage OS, and I also have done a OnePlus 6. So if you have a OnePlus 6 you want to Google, you can send it to me. I can do those. Do you have any blue pixels? So anyway, for tablets, you can get a Samsung Galaxy Tab S2. I think you can buy them used for $149, and then I'll Google for you for $100. What's the best option for Pixel 2 XL? I don't know. You can say graphene is best for that, and then you'll fail like I did. It's not 100%. It's not guaranteed to work. So, I've not been able to use graphene even on Pixel 3. Didn't work. I believe Pine 64 is a Linux tablet coming out soon. That's correct. No phone is the safest option. That's correct. Can you still make calls with a phone that has been de-Googled? Yes, it's a normal phone. A de-Googled phone, what can you not do on a de-Googled phone? Well, you cannot do contact tracing. No RF surveillance either, so that's not possible with a Google phone. No device fingerprinting. So sorry, you can't do any of that. No Wi-Fi scanning. No device fingerprinting, no Wi-Fi scanning, no contact tracing, no RF surveillance on a de-Googled phone. I'm sorry, can't do any of that. If you want to do all those, get a brand new Pixel 4. I'm sure it'll do all that, including facial recognition apps. And some apps will complain and say, oh, I can't do this or I can't do that, but it'll still work. Most things that use only location and notifications will work on a Google phone. But apps that require a lot of other extra services like database, Firebase, some specialty apps will not work. So I would say that's under 10% of all apps. So 90% of apps will work on a de-Googled phone. Some apps may restrict it. Like, I don't know, banking apps seem to work, but some may, they could cause a problem and say, well, your phone is been altered. We don't like that. But I'm going to tell you right now that I do not root the phone. The phones are not rooted. So someone cannot take the phone and alter it in any way without your knowledge, because it is not rooted. Not rooted. Okay, so it's safe. It's safe. It's not rooted. You don't have to worry about that. Out of all the phones in your store, which one would you say has a better picture quality when taking pictures? Some people say that the G7 and G7 Play, the Motorola's, bring on and off. Sorry about that, buffering on and off. Okay, I just saw it buffer, so you're right. Okay, I just saw it do that, so I think it just recovered. So the internet is not very steady around here, so my internet shut down for long periods all day. Okay, so it looks okay now. We're not buffering now. So sorry about that. So in answer to the question again, to repeat, the question was, how good is the picture quality, camera quality on these? I personally don't rely on phones for picture quality. Are they as good as the iPhone 10? Uh, iPhone 10 is later than this. So iPhone 10 probably has better pictures than a Pixel, but Pixel is pretty good. So, nowadays, I'm not going to rely on the phone. If I'm going to do a balance between privacy and good picture taking, then you should get a fancier camera. I mean, there's many. I'll sell you this. This is a G7X. I mean, this is very tiny. It's a very good camera. This is what I used last year for doing my videos, and that's it's not cheap. It's not cheap. It was probably this little thing was like over 1,000. So I don't use that. I use them even more expensive Sony now. So I don't rely on the phones. But I heard that the G7 and G7 Play camera, the photos are not the best. It could be software. So I can't tell you because you're not going to get the fancy software for picture taking like with HDR and all that. It's not going to come with AOSP. You may need another app. I saw a Samsung. You will need a Pixel 3 or Pixel 3 XL because it has visual core and works on ASPD Google phone. Yeah, I don't support a Pixel 3 yet. I have a Pixel 3 and it's not been successful. Signal works on these phones. I use Signal on them. Most of my friends use WhatsApp and they're zucked up. Could a newer Android such as no, in general, newer Androids cannot be de-Googled. You have to let them age a little bit. Someone has to spend the time, a programmer has to spend the time to de-Google it and make the changes necessary to, learn how to de-Google a new phone, especially with new devices. So typically it takes, depends on the brand, like Samsung tend to take a little bit more time. And then the Motorola's tend to get more support, and the OnePlus series gets more support for de-Googling, and then the others just take a long time. Samsung tends to put a lot of specialty kind of hardware on it, so that's why they tend to be incompatible. Graphene is now only on 3A, 3XL. Like I said, in theory, I have a Pixel 3 and graphene does not install on it. So it's not 100%. Are your phones available in bulk? No. They're very hard to do. It's basically, I have to hire somebody to do all this. So it's not, it's very time consuming to install. So, you'll learn if you try to do it yourself and you say, maybe I should just gotten from Rob to save all that time, because do you have that kind of time to spend to do this? There's other things you could have done, it's $100. So, how much is your time worth? The first one I did took 2 weeks. So, take 2 weeks, and so that's 40 hours a week, 80 hours, and divided by the $100, and it's like getting paid a buck an hour. So, let somebody else invest in that time and don't worry about it. Concentrate on something else. What do you recommend? I don't recommend anything from the Pixel 2 XL. It's not one of my recommended phones. Pixel 2 is, even graphene doesn't really have much long-term support for Pixel 2. Pixel 2 XL, Pixel 2. They don't. And the reason is there's a lot of incompatibilities with it. So the best one that I found, which has a lot of, common compatibilities, is Pixel. Not Pixel 2. Pixel. Pixel 1. So this is a lot more stable. So if you're going to use a Pixel anything other than one, then it may not get an update because no one may care about updating it. This is still being updated daily. This is still getting daily updates. A lot of those do not get daily updates anymore. So it's like a Nexus 5. A Nexus 5, as old as that is still getting daily updates, which goes to show that those are the phones you want. There's a reason they're popular. Just like a Pixel is popular, there's a reason for them. It's because they're very stable phones. There's not a lot of tricks on them. I saw your video about privacy laptops and end up getting the Librem 15. It's being interesting. Are you still liking the Star laptop? The problem with the Star laptop is getting parts. It comes from the UK, and I put coffee in my keyboard, and it's going to be a month before I get a keyboard replacement. They're hoping to ship me one by next week, and it's going to take a month. So that's a problem. Now, is Purism any better? I don't know. Obviously, a large manufacturer has more safety. Like I have a HP Spectre X360 here, but it's not compatible with Linux, so I only use it for Windows and mostly for video editing. I use Linux pretty much 99% of the time for everything else. Check this out. A warning from Dr. Cottrell: do not update iPhone, Android. I don't know who Dr. Cottrell is, but if I were you, I wouldn't update it either because it has contact tracing, tracking, and all that built in. But it doesn't matter. There's already some tracking on there. The only way to prevent it is to actually just have a de-Googled phone. Wow, the timing of, I haven't been talking about de-Googled phones last year. And when I learned about how excellent a solution, after deep research, I said, this is really pretty effective against all of these threats. No device fingerprinting, no tracking, no contact tracing, no RF surveillance. It doesn't have any of that code in here. I checked. It doesn't have that code on here. You're enjoying your System 76. Can you suggest any de-Google app similar to WhatsApp for connecting with people? Aside from Braxme, obviously. I use Signal. Obviously there's Telegram. There, with its flaws, at least it's better than WhatsApp. WhatsApp is a very dangerous app. I can't do anything with a CTE Axiom MZ99. Hello, Charles Miller. Thank you for being a patron, Charles. You should talk to me on Brax if you have any questions, because you shouldn't really talk publicly on a patron thing because it's public. New viewer here. Thanks for videos. What is the safest way to do online purchases? I don't really have a problem with PayPal. To be honest, I talked about that last week. I don't. They're not social media, and they're protected by laws that prevent fraud and all that. So I don't really worry too much about that and about them selling data and all that, because it's not social media. The social media version is Venmo. Zuck that. Now I know PayPal owns Venmo, but I'll never use zucking Venmo. Venmo is social media. Why would you publicize your money transactions on Venmo? Why? I wish Brax had his own phone brand. I'm not big enough to do that. How do the new RF tracking threats affect smartwatches and other Bluetooth accessories? I think the accessories have to tie to an OS. And without a device fingerprint, they're probably not that useful for tracking. You need a device fingerprint. So they're gonna put the sensing on the phone itself and not on the Apple Watch. The only problem with PayPal is the fees. It's too expensive. Yes, but it's not expensive when you're a merchant, and compared to a direct credit card because it's less risky. If you keep the credit cards on your store, you can get hacked, and that's a liability. With PayPal, you don't have that risk. I don't have an opinion on Fairphone. He's fine, and I don't have any experience with a Jolla phone. When will you get us the Google smart watches? Brax just bought 2 phones. From where? From me? So what is the best keyboard app for Android? Hopefully you're just using AOSP keyboard, nothing else. The open source keyboard. Don't use any keyboard that's not open source. It's pretty scary. They can do remote access Trojan tracking on a keyboard that's not open source. So use only an open source keyboard. If you can't find one that you want, go look at F-Droid and check the F-Droid store for a keyboard. Do not download any keyboard from Google Play Store. I'd worry about that. What is contact tracing? Can you remove GPS chip from the phone? No. In case you didn't know, these are not chips anymore. They're called SoC, System on a Chip. The chip is everything combined. Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, GPS, all is in one system on a chip. So how are you going to disconnect one or the other from that? GPS is built into the Wi-Fi now. How do you disconnect that? How do you make my own VPN network as fast as the exposed network? How do I make my VPN network as fast as the exposed network? By having a fast VPN service, of course, and having one near you. If it's near you, then it's almost the same speed as having no VPN. My VPN, for example, one of the server farm locations for my VPN is in LA. So in LA, it's very fast. So I was testing it today, and my VPN speed was, Wi-Fi was like 120 megabits. Wi-Fi. So, and some days it's 10 megabits. Internet is not very stable nowadays, but when it's running, it's very fast. Did you answer the question about whether or not your VPN router store logs? Your VPN routers store logs or have a user agreement complying with the legal request for our data logs. If you have a VPN, are you talking about this kind of router? I don't have your log. You're keeping the log. It's in here. And by default, there are no logs here either. So you control the logs, not me. What are you talking about? So they can't come to me. This has no log to me. This is your device, not mine. When you have your Brax router, it's completely yours. It has no connection with me. Now, my VPN does not log. So if this connects to my VPN has no logs. I use it myself. I definitely do not want any logs on there. Can we open one in Dallas? Yes, Charles, we can open one in Dallas, but it's costly, obviously. It costs money to open up a server. So you're not that far from, let's say, the Tampa, Florida server. So, that's close. That's pretty close. How do you deal with you having your router located even after using a VPN after other people connect to it? That's why you use a Brax router with a VPN, because then it doesn't match. They can't do a reverse IP lookup if it doesn't have meaning their location is not tied to your IP address, which is the data pair you're trying to avoid. And that's why the Brax router solves that. So if your guests connect to this, they may have their location on, but they can't tie it to reverse IP lookup of your IP address. And that is a very, very important piece of data to protect, because once that's acquired, they're never going to forget that. So you want to make sure that you block anyone from using your network with your real IP address that could possibly have locations on, especially people using Facebook. How much is the server? Depends. Depends. Like a small server, because a big server is like going to be like $1,200 a year. So that's a bigger server. So maybe you can have a smaller one than that. I live in Illinois. Would your VPN be fast if I purchase it? In Illinois, it's going to use New York City. Of course, it's fast enough for that. Can we fight the tracing loss locally? No. What's your favorite DNS? Any DNS that is going through a VPN is the best DNS. As long as a DNS is going through my VPN with Pi-hole in it, because mine has ad blocking DNS. So it doesn't matter what the end DNS is. You're actually going to my DNS, which is a Pi-hole server. It's a Pi-hole DNS server. DNS over HTTPS sucks. Don't ever use that. How long till phones ship? I don't know. Did you order? If I have it, it ships the next shipping day. Give us advice on privacy when traveling with electronics. What can E do? Give us advice. I'm not sure I understand that. Turn it off when you're not using it. What is the best managed router for learning the ropes and logging? What is the best managed router for learning the ropes and logging everything? Why would you want? I don't know. Corporate routers are the managed routers. That's not something you put in a home. You'll need a different kind of equipment for like home managed router, and I don't know why you would want one. That's not something that you want because that's a spy machine. So if you're spying on your employees, yeah, the managed router might be good, but for your home use, no. To be careful of your microphone when traveling, your camera, 2 phones. You ordered 2 phones, Dizzy? Okay, Pixel and Touch. Okay, Dizzy Spider, then we can ship some of them as early as tomorrow. What is the DNS leak, and why do some other VPNs have issues with that? A DNS leak will reveal your IP address to your DNS provider. So that's why that is very important to block. Because if they said, okay, somebody went to porn.com and the query was connected to your house because that's your IP address, then they have information about you. So, you went to nsa.gov, things like that. So do you really want that on the DNS record? And that's what a DNS leak is going to do. Now, if it went through a VPN, then they don't know who it is because it's disinformation. So you don't want. Do not do port zucking forwarding. Do not zucking. Use port forwarding. If you want to get hacked, do port forwarding. Don't zucking do that. I downloaded a file from your site to get started. I want to give your VPN a try. I'm still using your previously recommended PIA. Now, PIA, which is what I used for many years, and I was a big supporter of PIA until they started sucking up my email, started blocking email and putting all these CAPTCHA codes because they're getting too many spammers and really bad people on PIA now. So because of that, they've become terrible. It's been terrible using PIA. That's what happens when why would they block my zucking email? And The reason is because all the spammers go to PIA now, so they attract, the low lives. So everyone like Google, Android, Google, Amazon, uh, PayPal, all of them know all of the different VPNs because there's thousands of people with the same IP address. So then they know, oh, if there's 1,000 people with the same IP address, then we know that you're in a VPN. That's why you get the captcha codes, because they've identified you to be part of a group. You don't want that. You like a VPN that's obviously not yours, it's shared with other people, but not large enough to cause that kind of attention, because then you're bringing attention to yourself. And that's why I don't like PIA, and that's why they block emails. It's actually not usable if they start blocking my email. There has to be a way to port forwarding, encrypting to the whole thing. No, if you have port forwarding, then you can be hacked. Well, for most high-paying jobs, a phone is a requirement. You can use electronics, but they should have others following you as well. Wouldn't know, but that's an access point that exactly. So, yeah, you do not want any kind of port forwarding because that opens you up. I don't do, one of the biggest mistakes that you guys do is you're going to put a ring camera. And then the next thing you're going to do is do port forwarding with Ring. Now, Ring is pretty bad because all of your videos are being sent to a centralized location, supposedly to be accessed by the police. So Amazon is sharing the information from a Ring camera to the government. So even if I'm jogging around, I can't jog anymore, but, if I'm walking around my neighborhood, my neighbors would Ring. They're doing facial recognition on my face as I walk by, so I better wear a mask. So do not ever use ducking Ring. I actually sell my own surveillance camera that is not activated by port forwarding, and it doesn't have any of that, so you can't access it from the internet. How do I set up a new Zucking Windows 10 Surface Pro safely? Watch the video. Fortunately, you have a video for that. It's called How to Set Up a New Computer. I barely know how to turn on and off the phone. Okay, let me see what I miss here. I would physically remove the camera, microphone, and GPS. You can't remove a GPS from a phone. But you don't need to worry about that. If you have a phone, a Google phone or Linux phone, the ones I talk about, what happened is these phones do not have the location Wi-Fi probes that Google has. It doesn't have it. So because there's no unpermissioned location tracking, the only GPS use here is by permission. So you actually have to give AOSP permission to the app. So because of that, if you turn your location off, it's actually off. On a Google phone or iOS phone, when you turn location off, your location isn't actually off. It's just off to third parties. It's not off to Google and Apple. Okay, so given that, I don't know why, I should be selling like a million of these, because I can't imagine anyone who wouldn't need one. Everyone should have a Google phone or a Linux phone. Linux phones, unfortunately, are still in a development stage and they're not completely stable yet. But in the next month, let's check it out again and see if it's stable. But I'm looking forward to the stability that will be provided by a Linux phone in the future. So at the moment, their power management is not there yet. Camera's not working yet. A couple of minor things like that are on the way, and when that works, then we'll have a very functional device, and then the app creators can start making some really good apps for it. I saw a 2019 Samsung tablet supported by Lineage OS. The only Samsung tablet that's supported is an S2. The problem is nobody's making tablets anymore. So the only tablet that's supported, so if you want one, you can buy a Samsung Galaxy Tab S2 and you can ship it to me and I'll do it for you. Samsung Galaxy Tab S2. Can one use Lineage OS as a daily driver? Absolutely. I use it as a daily driver. Everything works. Everything works. Custom ROMs really secure? Yes. Yes, they are. Actually, somebody thought that just because it's a custom ROM, that suddenly it's open to hackers now. It's not. It's still encrypted. It's still an encrypted phone with encrypted drive. It's still using Cell Linux, secure Linux. It's still, if you attempt to change the OS on here, it will erase your data. So, yeah, it's still pretty safe. I don't root them. They're not rooted. What browser do I use? All of them. All. Watch my browser threat test video. That's a very important video. Everyone should watch my video, browser threat test. If you're not understanding the problem. What are the differences between Calyx OS? I don't know what Calyx OS is. Graphene OS is better compared to Copperhead OS. Copperhead and Graphene, they used to be together. It used to be one group, and then they split off. So Copperhead is very similar to Graphene because of that, and they're no longer working together, but they have similar source code. Okay, Lenny PR. I was curious about your thoughts about Graphene OS. Do you have a preferred Pixel? At the moment, I prefer a Pixel, and I'm trying to get a Pixel 3 to work, but the Pixel 3 is much more expensive. So Pixel is at a nice price point. So this is a Pixel right now, de-googled, running mine, and somebody made a comparison between what I do and what Graphene does. It's actually not that different. Graphene does a few things that are not to me not completely essential. Other than that, they're very, very similar. I mean, I use Graphene too. I don't have a problem using Graphene. So the guy, he and I would probably agree on most things. What is his name? Daniel Micah or something? McKay, is that his name? Most things would agree about. He made some comments about DNS over HTTPS, which I disagree with strongly. But other than that, he seems to have concentrated on Android, and he's submitting changes to Android upstream, meaning to the AUSP project. So he's very tied to the Android project in detail. And to be honest, the changes that he made is not that different than Android 10. So a lot of the changes he made he actually took out because Android 10 already does the same stuff. So, but at least his thought process is right and what he's doing is right. So I don't have a problem with Graphene at all. Do I need to use Graphene? If I could, if I needed to, but these don't need it because I'm using something completely different on these. So I don't use Graphene on this. I could, but not necessarily, there's a plus and minus to that. The stuff I do may be slightly different. And, I tend to bias my selection more towards privacy than all the cybersecurity stuff, which makes it more difficult to have privacy. What's your opinion on Baofeng radios? I got a ton of Baofeng radios. I guess it's all over. It's in my car, it's everywhere. I got a ton of Baofeng radios. They're cheap, so I have them everywhere. I don't really like Brave. Brave is one I use, but nothing special. Kevin asked, what do we do once Big Brother has quantum computers instantaneously breaking encryption. Well, it's not going to break encryption instantaneously because one of the things it cannot do is break AES 256. It's not able to do that yet. It's better with symmetrical encryption, which is might be able to break like Signal and things like that. So like my app, I use AES 256. I don't use any symmetrical encryption. So it's not subject to that. However, it is scary when the time comes. So you have Lineage OS on your... No, this is not a straight Lineage OS, no. It's based on Lineage OS, but it's not a straight Lineage OS. It's based on it. So when you boot it, you see the Lineage OS logo, but it's modified. Okay, but it's based on Lineage OS. Do you sell any phones with NetHunter installed on it? Install it yourself. But then you'd have to go to the Google Play Store to install NetHunter. No browser fingerprint. AES is quantum resistant, yes. Best phone under $200 for Lineage OS. Well, under $200 for me, or just in general, you can do it yourself. Everything I sell, you can get for $200 or slightly less from anywhere. Okay, but you have to install the degoogling OS on it. So mine ranges in price by the time I've done everything on it from $249 to $299. So just to give you an idea. Yes, it's even worse in 2020. Thank you, a little piece of love. Modified how? Well, obviously it has to, I have to make it work the way I want it to work. It has spoofing built in, which Lineage does not do. It has to spoof it has to allow spoofing. So that's one of the changes, and obviously I have to load all the stuff that makes that happen. What model or brand is that speaker for home theater you use? I have no idea, Lenny. You ask these kinds of questions, I have no idea. Where did the people go to buy your phone ROM combo? Livendi Zuck, you don't know? Or you're trying to promote me? Yes, you go to the description of the video or use the link rob.brax.me on your browser, and that will connect to my app, and it will be turned to HTTPS. So that's a redirect link. It will redirect to HTTPS, and then you go onto the app on the browser, or you can download the app from the App Store if you have iOS or Android, even though we're talking about those. And you can find me on the app BraxMe. What browser are you using right? Oh, not me. I'm promoting you. Yes, I'm on Windows 10 right now, but I use Firefox mainly to use Tor browser for Linux. Yes, you watch my video, browser threat test. In conclusion, the conclusion of the video is that yes, you can be fingerprinted even with a Brave browser, a Tor browser. They can all be fingerprinted. So the answer is use all browsers, and by partitioning your work in something called browser isolation, you stop the tracking. And there are only two entities you need to worry about: Google and Facebook. That's it. Google and Facebook. Browser fingerprinting has no significance to anyone else. Only Google and Facebook. What's your take on System D? Oh my gosh. What AOSP are you installing on the Pixel one? On the Pixel, I'm using AOSP 9 Lineage OS variant, but based on AOSP Lineage 16. And it does have OTA updates. Uh, uh, are you good at math? All the computer stuff seems to need a lot of math knowledge. I suck at it. Uh, yeah, I'm okay with math, but I wouldn't call myself a math major. You know, most I do very little math in what I do. So no, you don't need. Have you looked into the source code of Brave? Brave is based on Chromium, so just go to the source code of Chromium. Brave is Chromium based. Nothing special about Brave. It's just modified Chromium. I use Google Chrome for YouTube. You have to partition it into what they're tracking. If you're on YouTube, use Chrome. I mean, what are they going to track that YouTube isn't tracking? You want to keep it together. So, you know, if you're going to do anything with Google, use Chrome for it. So they don't get any more information than they already have. Then for non-Google stuff, I'd use Firefox. Facebook is what I'd put on Brave, if you ever use Facebook. So nothing special about Brave, guys. Brave, you know, the claim to fame of Brave is cookie control. And I don't really care about cookies because it doesn't matter. I don't need cookies to fingerprint you. I can fingerprint you just fine without cookies. So it's a false thing to say that Brave is going to protect you. How? Go do my browser threat test and see if Brave can really protect you. No. Some third-party Android apps heavily uses Google services like Maps, etc. Correct. Sometimes they can't run without it and have limited functionality. How to defeat this? Don't use it. The silent Pavel, the answer is micro G. It's in my video gaps, the Google gaps video that I just released last week. Watch that. That is the solution. And then then you could use it. Using Aurora Store and micro G defeats location services and notifications. Those specific features will work. If the app does something more with Firebase, then no. But that's a small proportion of apps. Okay, hello again, kelp farming. Brave has a built-in Tor client. So what? What is that going to do for you? I use a Tor browser. I mean, a Tor router. If I already have a VPN, it doesn't do anything special. Can you put a custom ROM on my S9 Plus? No. No, I can't do it on phones that I don't support. There's usually a problem. You can't. One, how do you get updates? You know, it's a very complex thing. You can't just take any phone. You have to do it in reverse. I tell you what phones work for the long run, then you get long-term support for it. If you pick a random phone because you like the way it looks, it may not work well in the long run. The support might end. For example, a Pixel 2 is no longer supported. Pixel 2. But a Pixel is. Now, why is that? That's because there's some little tricks that are done on the Pixel 2 that are incompatible, and that causes issues, and so people say, well, I'm not going to support that anymore. OnePlus 8, of course, not supported. OnePlus 7 is not supported. OnePlus 6 is. I have done a OnePlus 6. Which are best long-run smartphones? What is long run? Nothing is long run enough. But I think the Pixel will last us several years. So this is like a several year phone. Stability. It's still supported to this day. I'm trying to work on a Pixel 3, but that's going to be more expensive. And it didn't work. I haven't gotten to work yet. Can you jam the Bluetooth? No. What are you jamming? I mean, no. You're going to carry over a transmitter everywhere, and then how are you going to do that? Any plans on making new videos on the Librem 5? Yes, of course. I don't have a Librem 5 yet. Shouldn't I make a video when I have it? I don't have a Librem 5. It's been over a year. I ordered over a year ago. I'm not going to get it till October, maybe. Maybe. You are incorrect on AES being quantum. Yes, I am correct. You're not incorrect. You are incorrect. That is not correct, Dizzy. That's not how quantum computers work. No. That is not how quantum computers work. I should know this. I made many, many videos on quantum computing. No. Incorrect. AES 256 CBC is very resistant to. I think they managed to. It took a long time though, but they managed to use a quantum computer to break a simple 128-bit AES, but they haven't been able to get anywhere near that with 256. It's not whiskey, but it's alcoholic, yes. Quantum computers don't work. What AOSP are you putting on the Pixel? This is starting out with a modified Lineage OS. Android AOSP 9 modified. So it's based off Lineage OS. It's based off Lineage OS, but it's modified. It's the same thing I do on a G7. It's exactly the same thing I do with a G7. Okay. What language is the Google code that you have? What language is the Google code in that you have to review to de-Google those pesky bastards? The actual Google, Android AOSP would be in C++, but that's not the, it. Once you get into an app, then you have to maybe deal with something called the Dalvik, which is Java. So it depends. It depends on where it is in the chain. What's your favorite cold storage wallet for digital assets? I don't know. You probably use Nano, right? Librem 5 is Josmo. Yeah, let's see when I get my Librem 5. But, PinePhone's here, but I want the power management to work soon, and then I don't care about the camera. If I get the power management to work, then it'll be fine. Can you build our own custom ROM? Yeah, you can take the custom ROM from AOSP and then modify it yourself, yes, which is what many people do. You should teach a course. Are you installing I said I'm installing a modified Lineage OS on the Pixel. Modified. So I'm not taking it straight from Lineage OS. It's modified. Okay, so we got 11 more minutes. This an hour and a half seems good. Looks like I'm able to hit most of your questions in an hour and a half. So we'll try this format and see the results. I'm wondering how large the video is, but 3 hours is too long. Brax, if you get big and can't handle many orders, will you open I have a small company, and I now have people installing these because I can't do them by myself anymore. Do you use Termux? I can, but I don't have any reason to use Termux when you can use ADB Shell. ADB Shell gives you direct access, and you can root it. So why do you need Termux? I have a computer. I use ADB Shell. With no root and access to the host file, how are you blocking ads, malware, no ad away? Are you using Bytes VPN for that? Correct. Bytes VPN is running Pi-hole. So my VPN uses Pi-hole. You don't want to really do Pi-hole at your house because there'll be a DNS leak. So I put Pi-hole on the server somewhere, And when you subscribe to my VPN, you automatically get Pi-hole. Are Canadian privacy laws better than the U.S.? I don't know. Probably not. I'm only using Swift keyboard from the Play Store. Bad move? Yes. I'd use an AOSP phone or use some keyboard from F-Droid, not anything from the Google Play Store. If you have to install it, you're right in trouble. If we buy phones from your shop, do you send them to Australia? Yes, I can send them to Australia. Australia is good. Yes, I can send them to Australia. I can send them to most of the EU now. Australia, there's a few small countries in Asia and South America that may be difficult to send to, but big countries, yes. India is okay too. For example, can I ship to Sri Lanka? Probably not. There are a few countries where there are no flights. The problem is there are no flights. If you could have a country as a backup, what country would it be? Zuck, I don't know. I hope I never have to get to that. Does major VPN companies out there use Pi-hole? Not that I know of, Lenny PR, but I do, because I want to protect you. Will you please make privacy and security course for average user? You mean this is not a course? This is a course. Just watch me all the time. Are open source VPN like OpenVPN good to use for desktops? Yes, I use my VPN, and all commercial VPNs use open source OpenVPN. We all use the same one. Okay, Brax, I'm proud of you. Start shipping tablet or we fighting. Okay, buy a Samsung Galaxy Tab S2, ship it to me, and I'll de-Google it for you for $100. So just send it to me and I'll do it. Okay, can you send my Pixel phone to Wuhan, China? No. What's the best VPN? What's the best VPN? The best VPN is mine, which is, first of all, just out of curiosity, some people say, I trust Zucking NordVPN. It's like, why do you trust NordVPN, for example? Do you trust a bunch of Lithuanians that have access to your data in Lithuanian servers? And they say, we want to keep our servers out of the U.S. The reason they want to keep their servers out of the U.S. because they're from Lithuania. Not because there's anything inherently safe about using Lithuanian servers. So that's not a good thing. So why do you trust them when you have a face right here you can trust? If you don't trust me, then don't use my VPN. But you actually have a person you can talk to. I have my VPN company is small, which is perfect. And when you have support, you don't have to worry about it, because it's not like you have to talk to some big company. It's easy to talk to me because if there's anyone to trust, why do you trust a NordVPN? Who at Nord do you trust? Do you know anybody there? Is there anyone you know there that you trust? Do you know anybody from PIA? PIA has been bought and sold so many times. So all of these companies, Proton VPN. So Proton VPN, is that the same company as Proton Mail? Which is, I hear, is funded by the CIA. Oh, we love Proton VPN, Proton Mail, it's funded by the CIA. You love that? So why do you want that? Here I am, right here on YouTube, and you can talk to me, and you're saying you don't trust me. Well, I don't know. Go trust, unknown people, and here I am, I have an actual face. Does Bluetooth, and why do you keep asking the same question, Locutus aboard? Does Bluetooth still transmit when you've got it turned off? Turn what off? They are making it so it's always on. That's a change in the OS. They're giving you updates now on Google. Google did an update a week ago, and iOS a week ago, and they updated the OS, and I bet you the change is that your Bluetooth is going to emit a signal all the time now instead of, watch your battery go down. I thought Proton was Russians. Now it's CIA. Uh, no, Proton is in Switzerland. It's not in Russia. Proton is in Switzerland. Can we suggest to offer your VPN for minimum monthly fee instead of paying annually? You can do that. Not for monthly, too much work. But if you say, can I pay you in installment? Yeah, if you pay me half a year, I'll make your VPN half a year. If you pay me quarter of a year, I'll set it to quarter of a year. I can customize it like that. Not an issue. Everything is one now. Yes, Charles Miller. Nord is doing a big push, offering twice the great Twist Mint. So what they say is, oh, join us now, and we'll give you half price. What they really mean is we'll put twice the number of people on the same servers. Maybe not on day one. They'll give you a break, and then a few months from now, suddenly starts going slower and slower. Go check out Tom Sparks and see what he thinks. Tom Sparks reviews. He reviews VPNs on YouTube. His channel is about as big as mine, and you can go ask him what he thinks. And I think NordVPN actually threatened him with a lawsuit because he doesn't speak very well of them. Knowing the Swiss, they probably sell the data to everyone. I saw someone post on Brax Me app something about privacy watchdog to exposing Proton Mail. I don't know, but true. I saw some comments on Proton Mail in some various places, and basically they're hiding it that they were in fact funded, like Google was funded by the CIA. So why do these entities fund these things? Obviously because they want some access. So that's why they fund it. I haven't gotten to Android OS updates, but the Google app updates, no, that's not the same thing. Okay, so we're out of time now. So anyway, before I close out here, and thank you. Did anyone hit like? My screen is not up to date here, so my screen says that only 11 people are here, and I only have four likes. So somebody can tell me what the real number is. But if you like the video and if you're learning from this, you may want to hit the like button and help the algorithm kind of decide if this channel is interesting or not, and see if they can recommend the videos. So just so hit like if you like, or hit dislike if you don't like. And actually, every time I go and do a live stream, some people unsubscribe. I don't know why, but maybe they think it's too long. Perfect new length of time today. Okay, so an hour and a half seems to be perfect timing here. Just put 81 just now. Hello, Jiff. So, and the other thing is, I want to again thank my patron supporters. Charles Miller is a patron supporter. Trying to see if anyone else here today is a patron supporter. I from a quick look here, I don't see. 1.5 is better than 3 hours for sure. So anyway, patron supporters, that's really appreciated. This channel only makes $200 a month from YouTube, so it's not enough to sustain. So your help in making me make these videos is just really helpful. And I'm getting some new equipment too to do videos on. I want to teach you how to use the Brax router, or set up a Brax router. I want to actually show you, how to plug it in and all that, since apparently even a diagram is not good enough. So I'll do a plug-in show and show you exactly how it's plugged in, how it works. And then, but I need a special camera for that, so I got that. And so that's coming soon. So thank you very much. Thank you for bringing this channel up and making it more visible with subscribers here on YouTube. And thank you on Library. My gosh, Library now has over 5,000 plus followers on Library. It's growing so fast. It's now 1/3 of YouTube. I'm amazed. So thank you so much on Library. And again, thank you for the people who buy my products as well and patron supporters. And if you have any other product ideas that you think I can do, then please suggest it, and I will certainly do things to help you with your privacy. So thank you very much, guys, and watch my F-Droid video. Apparently, that's also doing very well right now. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next week. And I'm gonna go sailing. Time to go sailing. Okay. Good night.